2025, this is what's left of AnsemReport.com. The words, "I'll come back to you, I promise," with a music box rendition of Simple and Clean. For me, happening upon this page was surreal. It was as if experiencing a moment of nostalgia for something I was never a part of. I wanted to learn more. I wanted to know what this site was for, what the community was like, what happened to AnsemReport.com, and whether the promise was true. Will it come back to us? This is the story of the Ansem Report. The Wayback Machine can teach us a lot. The Ansem Report was one of the first and largest Kingdom Hearts communities created back in the early 2000s. For first-generation Kingdom Hearts fans, this site would have been a household name. It was originally made to share theories about the highly anticipated sequel to Kingdom Hearts, specifically the content hinted at in the Another Side, Another Story and Deep Dive secret movies. Upcoming news was a constant source of discussion. Blog posts populated the pages, and so much of it was lost to time. There were broken links, logs of site shutdowns, a seemingly infinite number of dead ends. I fell out of my depth, as if I was exploring a long-abandoned civilization without a guide. What was lost behind these broken links? Why did the site shut down? Where did its community go? And what happened to AnsemReport.com? That's when I went to Google, searching the site's name to find any reference of it that wasn't wiped from the internet. And almost immediately, I came across an unexpected mention on the Kingdom Hearts subreddit. 4 years ago, the poster was Neatchee, a name brought up often in the AnsemReport.com archives. His comment? What should I do with the AnsemReport.com domain? By pure coincidence, I had stumbled upon the site's owner. Right away, I reached out to him, asking if there was any chance that we could conduct an interview, and to my surprise, not only did we manage to line something up, Neatchee brought on board a number of the site's original members. Less than a month later, the call went live, and with the help of Neatchee and 4 others, all of my questions were answered.
Wait, there's a secret
Goofy
ending.
and Donald.
So these were my friends.
And it became unruly.
It's an origin story.
I was a grown teenage
You guys
girl.
are ridiculous.
Our third place was the Ansem Report.
These were the people I wanted to
We
talk
went
to.
out and colonized.
Damn, we're real friends now.
Midnight runs to Dunkin' Donuts.
It was a big part of my
That
life.
game could be this deep.
The Ansem Report became a parallel of the Kingdom Hearts
I
franchise.
should make everybody who thinks to come here feel really sad.
Let's start by going back to the very beginning. The Ansem Report launched on February 8th, 2003. The site's mission statement is as follows. This site was inspired by the end of Kingdom Hearts and the secret video Deep Dive from Final Mix. Here you will find many theories on what Deep Dive means and the possibilities for KH2. Most of what is on the site is mere speculation. It is not official information about KH2. We would like you to contribute. We are looking for comments, new theories, fan art, wallpapers, and anything else you might think will be good for this site. Target Dog. This is hype. Wow, you've got more deep dive pics than I've ever seen anywhere. This is sweet. Man, there's so much to look at. I could spend days on here. You did a good job. Nice site you have. You did a good job on it. Keep up the good work. If anyone wants the deep dive video, go to my site at www.zitty.net. That last comment belongs to Churro, a notable cage face on Twitter today. It's fascinating seeing a name I recognize from a post made over 20 years ago. The page quickly became a central hub for all things Kingdom Hearts. You could read all the secret reports, watch the secret movie, and stay up to date on the news or speculate about the unannounced Kingdom Hearts 2. You could even browse fan theories, fan art, and fanfiction. In an early internet age predating modern social media, it's easy to see how someone could get lost scrolling through Ansem Report for hours on end. After just one short year, this humble fan page grew to have over 5,000 unique visitors per day. And as the community grew, so too did the Ansem Report team.
My name is Brian Resnick. People would know me as Neatchee.
My name's Alicia, nicknamed Icy.
I'm Kyle Foreman, better known as Mera'din or Mera'din Unknown.
My name is Melissa. I went by absoluteroses with the lowercase a and or abso.
My name is Alex Miller. My name on the Ansem Report was BlindRaven, aka BR.
I was the person who made the big conversion to the larger forums that we wound up using. But yeah, I mean, owner and operator. I ran the servers. as we were chatting around about before, I was always kind of the tech guy.
I was mostly just a very active member. Eventually, I did become a moderator, kind of in its 5th iteration.
I was like the big theory guy, like one of the site admins, and like one of the main forum admins.
Eventually, I went on to be an admin, but I was always like, I want to be a moderator. But yeah, it was a good time.
Yeah, just as a side note, she was the first mod.
Yeah.
I believe Mero nodded me too, so thank you.
Yep.
Eventually became a moderator. I think ultimately was just kind of conscripted into service in later days as an admin. And then I did a few iterations of the design for the site, and was pretty heavily involved in the subculture of tagging and digital art that ultimately bled over onto a couple other sites as well.
Can you give an estimation of when you started and stopped visiting the Ansem report?
I mean, so I bought the site from a guy named Target Dog. He's the person who really he founded the site and put up all of the initial blog style theories and information. He just didn't have time to maintain it, so I basically bought it off of him, and then I still own the domain name and have a little server running there. It fell apart eventually for technical reasons, but yeah, I drove it into the ground. I have a plan for it one day when I have time.
I think it was maybe February or March. I had initially found the website. I know I spent week, 2 weeks, maybe a month just sitting there and reading it and having my mind blown. Because I had never really thought the game could be this deep. I hadn't played RPGs ever in my life. Finally, and then I joined the message boards, and I was there until it got run into the ground. I was there when we tried to make a whole wiki, and I helped with that. I was there when it briefly was a blog site.
Yes.
I was in it until it was no more. Anytime someone wanted to do something with the domain, I was there. At a certain point, the community fell apart to a certain extent, and it became more, just people keeping in touch via Facebook or AIM.
I moved to California right before I turned 19, and that was when I got involved and stuff. So yeah, that would have been February 2003. That was actually when I created my current username too. Like I had a different one before then, and it was like a fresh start kind of thing. It was like I need something new. Yeah, I had just recently started reading the Wheel of Time series, and that's where the name comes from.
Yeah, I started with Neatchee on the Ansem report and still use it to this day.
Someone gave me mine on Ansem report, and I just kept it.
Okay, correct me if I'm wrong, but wasn't your name it was Kyrie, but it was spelled
Kyrie
wrong
was
originally?
Kiari.
It was Kiari, yeah.
It was spelled wrong. It had exclamation
And
marks and squiggly.
numbers.
It was very
Yeah.
13-year-old in 2003.
Yeah.
It was what the 13-year-olds were doing back then. It was ridiculous.
It had lots of character.
I really think I joined around March of 03, maybe. I wasn't too far on after Target had started up the website. I was looking because I was older. I was in college. I was a female, and back then there wasn't a lot of girls playing video or RPGs, and this was my first RPG that I played too. And I was just hooked, and I said, I need to find other people. I didn't necessarily need help beating the game, but I wanted to talk about it. So I went looking on, I don't know, was even Google around in 03? I don't even know. Probably looked it up on MSN or something, or yahoo.com. And I just fell into it, and I said, this is where I want to be. And there was a lot of good information. And I honestly do not remember when I went off, but I wasn't really ever involved like Neat or Icy when they were doing all the extra things with the blogs and everything like that. Mostly for me, just message boards.
Yeah, I think at the beginning, the message board was almost I feel like it was almost exclusively myself and her just talking back and forth. and then just other people filtering in eventually.
Slowly added people to that mix. Yep.
Yeah.
Best guess, thinking about it a little bit more now, was probably summer 2003 that I joined, because I specifically remember what prompted me to join, which was, if anybody remembers the G4 channel back in the day, it was like a video game centric cable channel. They were doing some, afternoon programming that had part of the deep dive video in it. I was like, holy shit, that was cool as hell. And so, I like go online to figure out what the hell I had just seen. And so I know it wasn't 2004, and I know it was at like 12 o'clock in the afternoon that I saw this thing. So it was probably summer break, ergo, probably summer 2023. And after that, I was hooked, and I was there till the bitter end.
What was your role in the site's day-to-day operations?
Spent so much time trying to make specific little things that I wanted to work, whether that was a forum extension or a whole new forum version. Like we switched versions on the forum several times, or sometimes it was me trying to recover backups from a server crash that I did not back up properly. And then a lot of time on the forums at night. I would do work on it when I got home from school, and then as I got tired of doing that stuff, it was into the crazy thread, which was the repository for all things not Kingdom Hearts, and the Night Owl section, which was basically the point where we all were like, okay, we have our, like, I don't know, whatever, it was 12 people, 16 people, I don't know how many people, and those are the people that we really want to hang out with, so we're gonna make this little group.
During the peak days, I was just a member getting into trouble, not actual trouble, just being very active, hanging out in the crazy thread, being a hyper 13-year-old, posting all the time. I want to say by the time I became a mod, it wasn't as big. There wasn't. It was
after one of the data losses.
Yeah, it was when we had started working on the wikis. And it was basically a token role, if I'm going to be honest. I earned it because I had been there forever and I helped on the website. No other reason.
So a lot of my job was, aside from managing the forums, because the forums were just kind of there when I started, and I kind of formed that into a bigger thing. But I put my theories up on the website off of Target Dog's original set of stuff, and any prominent theories that popped up on the forums, I would feature those on the website and stuff like that. So that was a big part of my deal, is the forums, and just communicating with people, and bouncing theories off of each other and stuff like that. And that was the lifeblood of the site for so long.
I mean, for me, when I wasn't on the site, staying up till ridiculous hours, even though I had to drive to college in the next morning, I was going to college and was working part-time at a liquor store, and that was my life. Lived in my apartment, I had my cat, I had my job, and I went to college, and that was it. And I would come home and I'd sit around and I'd go through the boards, and I would, on my dial-up internet that I still had for quite a while until I got able to afford that high-speed internet. And I would just check out and see what everyone was up to and make sure they were all behaving and following the rules. And there were and I see everyone's nodding. They all remember these troublemakers.
I was particularly bad when I first joined. I was just all over the damn place, and you guys were like,
Slow down.
this girl needs to chill.
Rein it in, girl.
We had a variety of troublemakers. That was actually as was mentioned earlier, the crazy thread that was put in place as a means to reduce spam throughout the rest of the forum. It's fine if you want to go wild, do it here.
Mm-hmm.
And I made all kinds of little graphics and stuff for it's hey, you're getting out of line. I think I used the shiitake mushroom heartless from the game. There was the art of that, and I made this whole thing with a scroll that was hey, you need to stop kind of thing. I forget what it said exactly at this point, but
I just remember being on the pro boards, and I made a thread, and Mara coming in and being like, no, go to a crazy thread. Stop this.
Early on, I was one of those troublemakers, I'm pretty sure. Later into the life cycle of the site, we had a pretty active subculture of tagging and digital art, making banners for other users and things like that. And through that and just kind of learning the ins and outs of Photoshop and Illustrator and things like that, I just somehow fell into doing some of the graphics for the site itself. Didn't actually code anything, made something to spec for Brian and he would slap it up there. That was kind of the brunt of my day-to-day tasks. Then when I was in any sort of like moderation capacity, I think I mostly kind of just focused on our specific part of the board that was dedicated to digital art, keeping that part of the community in check.
What sections of the site were most active? Where did people hang out? Like, where did they talk shop?
I don't know. I was just very active in the crazy thread. Declared myself queen of crazy at one point because, I don't know, chatty 13-year-old girl is all I can really say. I wanted everyone to like me, and I liked the role play thing. I liked pretending to be whoever and just joking around. And that was why I enjoyed it at that age, I guess.
Crazy Thread is where the hanging out happened. Crazy Thread and Night Owls is where the hanging out happened.
And theory, where all the theories were.
There was a good sub community of art, as Alex had mentioned, and I tried to be in there, but I was terrible at Photoshop.
I think about once every 6 months had a competition called Best of the Best, which was just like everybody made like the most badass tag they could, and it would be like opened up, and it was like one time where like everybody else from like the entire rest of the site would like flood to the design part of the board and like vote on everybody's submissions like March Madness style.
I remember getting exposed to a lot of anime because there would be threads for various animes.
Yeah, that was when Naruto was in its prime. Naruto and Bleach.
Oh my God.
I definitely heard about Samurai Champloo through maybe Full Metal Alchemist. It was whatever, I was really just watching whatever was on.
Toonami?
No, Toonami, but Adult Swim.
Oh,
Adult Swim. I was staying up and watching Adult Swim. I was a grown teenage girl.
What a brilliant marketing idea.
But other than
call it Adult Swim so the teenagers won't watch it.
But because my only exposure was Adult Swim, there was some other stuff that I feel like I got introduced to. Same, people would talk about the newest Final Fantasy games, and I kind of be like, ooh, what's that?
Well, one thing that I think is kind of interesting about the Ansem report is in that art community, that was like a really tight like subnet part of the community. And what ultimately happened is that there were other digital art only communities where like we went out like en masse and like colonized parts of these communities, and we're, I'm sure, like a pariah, but it'd be like me and Jeff and Knox and like all the other mainstays. And so like in that one weird way, Ansem report kind of like metastasized to like all these other communities that like didn't even have anything to do with Kingdom Hearts, let alone our own little like section of that community. So, just in terms of like where the hanging out happened, it wasn't even just on the site itself or AIM or in the community. It was like in other communities across.
Look, I don't want to take responsibility for the existence of the entire KH community as it stands today, but I'm kidding. There are so many other people who did so much more work after us.
What was the site's role in the cage community back in the day?
It was theories. We were the ones who were providing the meat and potatoes of what people could imagine about what was coming next when there was no other information available.
Yeah.
Right? Like people just wanted to know like what could it be?
If nothing else, we were the origin of the quirkiness in the community. It was like just everything we did was just, it felt so different from everybody else. Because like a lot of the other sites were very big news sites, very big, like just hard facts kind of thing, and we were the irreverent, what do Sora's shoes mean? kind of people. Like, analyzing the shoes of the person in the secret video, like they look kind of like Sora's. Probably one of the funnest things that came out of the site, though, we actually got a company to make the unknown coat, like to sell. Because there was a company that did like cosplay type stuff, and like we were actually able to get that. And then, you know, this was before Kingdom Hearts 2 came out. We had like one, like aside from like the unknown enemy fight in Final Mix and like the secret videos, there was like the one Kingdom Hearts 2 trailer at that point that came out like, you know, a year or more before the game ever did. And that's all we had for reference. And we sent them like everything we had. It was like what, Abbey Coats, I think was the name of the site.
Abbey Shot. They still
Abbey Shot.
exist, but they're very different now. They did this one, which was the full priced one, and then they also did a hoodie. My reward for providing all sorts of stuff to Abbey Shot was one of those hoodies, and then my mom threw it in the wash on hot water like 2 weeks after I got it and ruined it.
No.
Yeah, I was real unhappy.
Yeah, like the one they made was really nice, but it was pretty spendy because I mean, yeah, you can see it's pretty good quality.
The Ansem report helped keep the conversations going and cultivated excitement for Square's newest IP, creating a place where passion for Kingdom Hearts could grow beyond the game's runtime. As someone that never visited the Ansem report while it was active, I heard it was a major player in cage theorycraft. Are there any popular old cage theories that originated from the site?
So one of my big ones I think I actually put on the site was my whole thing, and you know, once again, this is, you know, just off of like the Another Side, Another Story video and the original secret ending, and the first game itself before we had any other information was that you know, one, that Kingdom Hearts, like the realm itself, was originally the realm of light. Like it was corrupted and became darkness, so that's, you know, Sora's line, Kingdom Hearts is light. That was like, that's what spawned that. I had this whole like extravagant like idea of how that formed, like Kyrie's grandma's story in that flashback was the story, which, you know, and you kind of see that how that filtered in nowadays, and that's kind of where Union Cross is like, it's that theory was almost right. Like, you know, the kids were the holders of light, and you know, they ended up fighting and darkness corrupted everything, and that's pretty much what Union Cross was, which is kind of cool to see. I mean, obviously, you know, the details are way off, but I know there's like one of the big prevalent theories was that the character you see, the dual wielding unknown in Another Side, Another Story, was in fact Sora, and then we eventually evolved it into, you know, it was Sora's. Before we knew what the nobodies were, like that was like we were close on that one too, because it was you know, it was the whole idea that there's, you know, the heart, but then there's also the soul, and then the body was like 3 parts of a person in the Kingdom Hearts universe. And so, you know, that the soul is still around, you know, it goes somewhere else. The heart becomes the heartless, so what happens to the body? And that's, you know, we were kind of working towards that when, you know, we started finding out about the nobodies.
Do you still have a copy, Mara, of the flow chart thing from Deep Dive? Yes, that is it. That's the one. Ansem Report was the ones who pieced this together, because you see these for like a couple of frames each, and it just looks like it's counting down, but there's these lines, and I don't even remember who it was who figured it out, but that the lines all made this map.
Target Dog had put that together.
Wait, those lines weren't just edited? Those are like the lines in the...
Yes.
Oh.
Those are part of the screenshots from the video.
I didn't realize that when you first said. That's actually incredible. Wow.
Right? And so we were picking this apart like as much as we possibly could. And this image floated around for a while. Because this was the most concrete thing anybody had on what was coming next.
This blew me away when I saw it. I've watched this cutscene countless times throughout my life, and even when making my videos on old school Cage 2 fan theories, I never noticed the lines or arrows during the countdown sequence. Since I grew up with the series only after Cage 2 had already come out, there was never a reason to speculate about what Deep Dive could mean. Now, I see that there was so much more here all along. The video ends with the words, "will go together," and the number 2, so I understood that it was hinting at a sequel game. But prior to that, there's a countdown teasing concepts for Cage 2 as well. Taking each point in order leaves you with about a dozen vague statements, which may or may not have any relation to one another, but each number also has arrows and lines running through them. You can arrange these arrows, making each message part of a larger whole. Here's the flowchart that I recreated based off of target dogs. This map reveals connections that would otherwise be completely missed without going through the video frame by frame, something that most people weren't doing in an era before YouTube. For example, from point 8, there's a set of branching paths that lead to 7 and 6. The message for point 8 is, the third enemy equals nobody. Who is nobody, you ask? They are the non-existent ones. And the message for 6 is, the 13th order. The flowchart suggests that these two entities are related, but that is not apparent when watching the video as a countdown alone. This is sort of a no-duh fact to Cage fans now, but with only Cage 1 to go off of, we didn't know who the 13th Order was, or that it was comprised of nobodies. So this flowchart revealed details about the future of Kingdom Hearts that fans would have otherwise missed. Also, while making this updated flowchart, I noticed something fascinating. The numbers that use Roman numerals 13, 10, 8, 7, and 2 perfectly match up to the organization members that are present in Kingdom Hearts 2's final world, the world that never was, where the majority of Deep Dive takes place. The other numbers that are not Roman numerals refer to the members who were eliminated during the events in Chain of Memories and before Cage 2's endgame. Alright, technically Axel's last scene was in the portal leading to the world that never was, so he didn't quite make it, but he was like right there. And okay, sure, Xemnas' number isn't in the movie because the countdown ends at 2, not 1. Anyway, look, I was 2 years old when Kingdom Hearts released, and I never got to join in on the deep dive theory crafting, so please don't flame me. Don't flame me.
Goodbye.
KH creator Tetsuya Nomura constructed this video in such a way that would get people talking and keep the conversations going until an eventual sequel would unveil the mysteries. It's like he knew that someone like Target Dog would come along and line the pieces up. Speaking of Target Dog, where is Target Dog?
Where is Target Dog? What a good question.
Where is
I need a
Target
part
Dog?
2 to that video.
Yeah, no kidding.
Target Dog, creator of the Ansem report, often vanished during the site's active years. He would leave members like Mara or Neatchee to run things while he was away, never indicating when he would return. Over the years since the Ansem report shut down, most of the members have had none or limited contact with him. While editing this video, I found Target Dog's profile page on the old forums where he had a link to a website called doggybomb.com, the same website from the end of the Where's Target Dog video. Clicking on the link brought me to a homepage from 2006 that looks somewhat reminiscent of the Ansem report. The site appeared to be dedicated to Doggy Bomb films, with links to their original movies, fan submissions, and a forum page. Looking at the forums, the two main discussion threads were created by none other than Target Dog. This was his other website, and it was still up and running. Flash forward to the modern day Doggy Bomb, and the site has received a radical overhaul. Questioning if the site still had any relation to Target Dog, I scrolled down to find this description. Doggy Bomb is an independent film and game developer, hidden among the long shadows of Hollywood. After a decade of making stuff for other people, we decided to make something ourselves. Blue Prince. At this point, I was in total shock. In April of this year, my social media timeline was flooded with people talking about this new indie puzzle game called Blue Prince. Close friends had wishlisted the game on Steam, creators I followed were making videos about it, and podcasters I listened to were saying this was a contender for their game of the year.
Like I talked about my top 3 of the year right now. It's Blue Prince, Clair Obscur, and 100 Line.
And me? I didn't know what the big deal was. I knew virtually nothing about the game, yet it seemed to follow me around my social handabouts. Now, 3 years after beginning work on this video, I was left in disbelief by this discovery. Digging a little deeper, the creator of Blueprints was a person by the name of Tonda Ross. Could this be Target Dog, creator of the Ansem Report? I wasn't sure. After all, Target Dog sold AnsemReport.com to Neatchee, so maybe he sold Doggy Bomb too. I began scouring interviews that Ross did about Blueprints, trying to glean any hints that might confirm my suspicions. The best I could find was an excerpt from the interview he did with Mazecast, a podcast and website dedicated to the puzzle book that inspired Blueprints. Maze, solve the world's most challenging puzzle.
My first encounter with Maze was in a Target store over 30 years ago, somewhere between the ages of 7 and 9. I remember first seeing the book on an end cap shelf featuring books for children. Amid the colourful caterpillars and the Bernstein Bear's Maze stood out. The tone of the illustrated cover was unmistakably dark, yet the open door seemed inviting. I was immediately drawn to the book, and I remember my mother having the good sense to leave me to my own devices in the book aisle while she continued shopping. And I suspect my first ever journey into its mysterious rooms was completed sitting cross-legged on the cold floor of Target.
Though this was hardly enough evidence to call it case closed, I was now wholly convinced that Tonda Ross is the one and only Target Dog. I asked the Ansem Report members if they knew anything about this, and Neatchee, who had still been in touch with Target Dog, confirmed that this was him. Some of the other members had previously had their suspicions, while others were taken aback by the news. And apparently the producer for Blueprints, Axel Haviko, is also a former Ansem Report admin who went by Elisar. Immediately after getting confirmation from Neatchee, I bought and downloaded the game on Steam. After my first day, I could confidently say that I was obsessed with Blueprints. Though several of my runs ended with dead ends, like my initial discovery of the Ansem Report, I was driven to uncover the fractured pieces hiding this game's story. In a little over a week, with 36 hours of playtime and 27 in-game days later, I finally reached the Fable 46 room. Even after seeing the credits roll, the deep lore and narrative webs running through this story keep pushing me to dive deeper into the game's mysteries. Understanding more about the man behind the dog, it's really no surprise to me that Target Dog was the one who figured out Deep Dive's secret flowchart all those years ago.
Disclaimer. Everything on this site are trademarks of Squaresoft and Disney. All content of this site are theirs and should not be taken without crediting Squaresoft and buying several of their games.
If you haven't already bought Kingdom Hearts, I suggest that you do so. And if you have done so, buy another copy or get Final Mix. If not, you might want to send Squaresoft a check or do something to promote this god of a gaming developer. The Ansem Report is in no way affiliated with Squaresoft and has nothing in common with them, well, maybe with the small exception that they're cool and this site wishes it was cool. And in given time, if Squaresoft asks for this, I shall give it to them.
The same goes for my life.
Now that we've completed this deep dive on Target Dog's identity, let's bring it around back to Kingdom Hearts Deep Dive. After all, the secret ending inspired Target Dog to create the Ansem Report and drove many fans to online forums where they could unravel their thoughts on the mysterious video. If there was no secret movie like Deep Dive, do you think the Ansem Report and other fan sites would have become as popular as they did?
No way. No
No.
way.
Mm-mm.
No
What
way.
was that video?
Like, yeah, I
Yeah.
think that video, not only just like site wise, like I think that video is what kept Kingdom Hearts going, honestly, because the base game itself, it's interesting. It was a good game, but there's not a ton of depth to it. There's more depth than you expected when you started, but it was pretty cut and dry as far as the story goes, other than the little bit at the end with the story may continue because he still has to get to Kyrie. But that video, like, it changed the whole sense of the game, because it was just it's this Disney and Final Fantasy game, and it could be taken at face value, but then you got to that secret ending. That's what did it for me too. Is like I didn't even have a PlayStation 2 at the time. Like, I had a friend who played through the game just because of the Final Fantasy aspect to it, and then he got the secret ending, and I went over to his house. He's like, "You need to watch this." And I watched it. I was like, "Holy hell, what does this even mean?" I ended up getting a PlayStation 2 from Rent-A-Center, of all things. Like, I don't even know if those still exist anymore, but like I had to, I probably paid double the price of a PS2 at the time to get a PS2, just because I had to pay like a small monthly fee to get to it, or to get it, so that I could play Kingdom Hearts and experience the whole thing. And then it was shortly after that I moved to California and found the website, and it just took off from there, because I didn't know Final Mix existed at that point until I saw the video and like all the theories and stuff on Ansem Report. And I was like, wow, there's so much more to this. And like, that's probably one of the games I've played through the most times in my life, just to dig every little detail out of it with those secret videos in mind, going back through it and stuff like that.
Man, I don't even know what happened. So my brother had played with me, and he was, my brother's 5 years older than me. He was really into like cheat codes and that kind of stuff. I ended up on some, like, I think it was like GameFAQs website, and someone had referenced Ansem Report, and I was like, wait, there's a secret ending. I didn't have the ability to ever really watch it for years, if I'm gonna be honest. I only saw screenshots because our internet was too slow to download it. But I was like, oh my gosh, Corey, my brother, I was like, there's a secret ending. He's like, we're not doing that. We're not replaying the game to get the secret ending. I'm like, oh damn.
You know what? I really feel like I went to the video store and I was going to rent some movies, and I walked past the games and I stopped and I was like, what is this? And I'm looking at the box art like, why is there like Goofy and Donald on this thing? What is this video game? And I read it and I was like, this sounds really cool. And I wasn't playing Final Fantasy or anything. I just saw it and I said, I actually had a PlayStation 2 and I bought it mostly to play DVDs because I didn't have a DVD player. I figured I get, a 2-for-1 there. And so I had the PlayStation and I rented it one weekend and I was like, oh no, I need to go buy this thing. And I plopped down the money, and I think I got the original walkthrough guide, to help me walk through, because I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never played a game like this before.
The poster and the stickers for the Dalmatians.
I did not take off the stickers. Thank you very much. Mine is intact, only used by opening it up and reading it. But the art in it is fantastic. I think it's Brady Games, and I even have the one for Kingdom Hearts 2, just because it's got such great visuals. Before they made the Ultimaniums and stuff like that. And it was it was really, I did it on my own for a long time. I was a single girl at that point, and I was just figuring it out for myself and trying to not throw the controller at the television. So,
I basically, my parents dropped me and my best friend off at BlockBuster. We're like, what you want? We were like, oh my gosh, we saw this on Disney Channel, and we rented it. And then we're like, oh my gosh, let's buy it. She bounced off of it pretty quickly. But me and my brother pushed through, and that was that.
So for me, I had actually been following the game before it came out. Like, I think I was a junior in high school when they first announced it, and they had like their basic website up, and like I was in love with the concept, because like I loved the Final Fantasy games. I was well into the Final Fantasy games at that point. And like the initial presentation of the game was like, it's like, hey, it's going to have Disney characters and Final Fantasy characters, but then like the core story about the Heartless, it was really vague, but it sounded interesting. And like, I think when I was a senior is when they started putting out a little more information about it. And that's like, I just remember, it's like one of my clear memories. I don't know why, but it was one of the people I knew in class coming up to me. He's like, hey, did you see the cool new Final Fantasy summon? I was like, what? And it's like a picture of Dumbo from the game. And just like, they were making fun of it and stuff. But I was like, actually, I thought it was kind of neat, because summons were always a big deal in Final Fantasy. And to kind of flip that on its head, and the summons in Kingdom Hearts are just Disney characters. I thought it was like a kind of a cool concept. But then like when the game came out, I didn't have a PS2 yet, so there was a game place. It was called Hollywood Video. I'm sure some people remember it. And they had a game store version. Like they had their own game store that was always attached to the Hollywood Videos. And I would go in there like every day, like after I graduated, and just like they had it in one of their little kiosks, and I would play through like the beginning Destiny Islands bit like every day until I could get a PS2 myself and watch the intro video, because I thought the intro video and the song were so cool.
Me and my brother were both pretty into the Final Fantasy games at that time. And I seem to remember him kind of telling me, like, look at this weird ass game. Like, it's Final Fantasy, but it's all the Final Fantasies together, but also Disney together with all the Final Fantasies. And I'm just sitting here, like, well, that sounds wild. I'm totally down for that cause. G4, they had, I think it was a show called Cheat Codes actually, where they played like secret endings or alternate endings to certain games, and that day's episode just happened to be Another Side, Another Story / deep dive. And I was like, full disclosure, that's way cooler than the entire rest of the game. I really, really, really want to know more about this. So I don't even know if Google was a thing at that time, but I got on the internets and started searching for Kingdom Hearts secret ending or something like that. And to your question earlier about if Ansem Report would have existed and thrived without that, I mean, for me it wouldn't have. And I'd venture to guess that for a lot of people wanting to know more about that is exactly how they got there. It wasn't just general interest in Kingdom Hearts. It was like, what's going on with this cool ass secret ending.
The wait between Kingdom Hearts and Kingdom Hearts 2 was rough, specifically for the Ansem Report community. Not only because Square's output of information on the new title was drip-fed with months of drought, but also the site had endured a number of server failures when the momentum towards Cage discourse was in a downswing.
There was so many years between Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and there just wasn't a lot happening, and we were a theory-oriented site. There were other websites that were doing merchandise updates and what's the latest in some magazine or another that isn't really like future looking, right? Because the game had been out and people had analyzed it to death, and so the site definitely lost momentum eventually. Especially it was losing momentum, and then we had a server failure, and that took days to get back online and lost a bunch of momentum. And then we had another server failure, and that was horrible and took months to rectify, I think, or weeks. And then we brought it back one more time, and it didn't really go anywhere. And I was just like, all right, well, guess that's that.
Old forum pages from the site's previous iterations were lost, unrecoverable, after a server crash that was not backed up properly. When server issues occurred, it would take days to a month to get things back online. Even when the site would come back online, the activity in the community was just never the same. Well, here we are. Over the past many months, this role-playing section has seen a steady decrease into an eventual stagnation and now, death. I'm sad to see it this way, but that's just how things go. In past iterations, the RP section has flourished and been, bottom line, awesome. I trust that it will again be as such, but now is not the time. These days, we don't have the talent, we don't have the scenarios, we don't have the participation, we don't have the time. With this, and all that has, or rather hasn't, happened in recent months, I'm shutting this section down. After being brought back after yet another server failure, the site didn't really go anywhere. The toll of trying to keep things running while watching the website slowly die was evident in one of the final iterations of the site's homepage. Just a single poem decorated the page, one that details a man lamenting his own loneliness, brought about by a cruel fate believed to be completely out of his hands. Delusionally, he asks if it's too late for things to return to what they once were. But the final line assures us that the kingdom had fallen, and it could not come back.
It is literally entirely my fault. I mean, I was a teenager going on 20, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, really, in terms of server administration. And I think one of them was a botched update to the forum software that corrupted the database. One of them, I believe, was a botched OS upgrade that I just couldn't recover from, and I didn't have offsite backups because I was an idiot. And those are the two big ones I could remember.
Yeah, well, I mean, as much as he takes responsibility for that, I will say the site would not have existed nearly as long as it did without him. So I think he makes up for the problem.
Definitely
like,
true.
I mean, none of us knew what we were doing either, so it lasted a lot longer than it could have.
Yeah, I was surprised when it came back. I thought, okay, it's done. When it first crashed. So, like, because I don't know which number crash it was, but there was one that I felt was like quite a long time. Because I remember just sitting in AIM chat rooms with, a gang of people being like, guess we live here.
And so, Kingdom Hearts fan site AnsemReport.com would fade into obscurity, never to be visited again.
But I've learned that deep down there's a light that never goes out.
Welcome to the Ansem Report blog. You won't find much here right now, but over the next few weeks, we will be bringing you all sorts of content. This is not the Ansem Report you're used to. This is a form of expression for a group of friends who have been working together for years now. It's a look into the minds of the folks who have been associated with AnsemReport.com, as scary as that may be. In late February 2007, the Ansem Report had made a comeback, but not the one that you would expect. The Kingdom Hearts iconography is completely missing, save for a dim outline of a Cage 2 Sora looking a bit lost and forlorn. The first post written on the blog reads, "It's just block space for AR staffers no less. Kingdom Hearts? WTF is Kingdom Hearts." Instead of posts talking about the fabled Cage 3, the main blog page features topics such as poetic injustice and this. Many posts range from venting about the current video games they were playing to sharing deeply vulnerable stories about the challenges of developing friendships after high school and college, figuring out your path in life, and the longing to return to a simpler time when you had all of these things, and where you once knew who you were. Flash forward to January of 2009, the Ansem Report would change face once again. It looks like they were cooking something up, perhaps in anticipation of the release of Kingdom Hearts 358 over 2 days that following May. But the wait would go on and on until nearly 2 years later. The update? A short message that said the following. The Ansem Report was the original Kingdom Hearts community website, providing Kingdom Hearts news, images, and discussion. Unfortunately, we have now shut down. For the latest Kingdom Hearts news, please visit our partners, Kingdom Hearts Ultimania. It was over. A few years later, the site would feature a small change. Cage 2 Sora looking into a black void that was now the Ansem Report. Finally, in 2016, we have the last update to the site ever. Besides when Neatchee added a link to his Mastodon account in 2023, but yeah, this is basically it for AR. So, what happened to AnsemReport.com? Well, technically speaking, the site is what you see now. You can find fossils of what it used to be with the help of the Internet Archive, but the heart of the Ansem Report cannot be captured through a second-hand experience. In your own words, what is the Ansem Report today? What does it mean to you?
I had this epiphany earlier today. It was, in a lot of ways, the Ansem Report became a parallel of the Kingdom Hearts franchise, where it became this like massive, overwrought, incredibly complicated thing that the most fundamental level was still just a coming of age journey for a lot of us. Getting back to the question though, for me, it's an origin story. In the chat, I kind of in detail laid out, how like that first long-term relationship led to me going to college in a place where I wouldn't have gone to college otherwise, led to me meeting Brian and Alicia, led to me living overseas in multiple places, this very direct chain of events that unfolded and kind of set my life on the course that it went on. And none of that ever happens without the Ansem Report, not even remotely close to what actually happened. And it's still a story that I tell today. It's one of those, you break it out when you're talking about crazy life experiences and you want to, be a little bit vulnerable with somebody and kind of give them a peek behind the curtain of how you became you. That's what it is for me. Yeah.
It is the foundation for how I learned to, the entrepreneurial spirit in some sense, and also how to interact with people in the culture that I'm still in today, right? Like I work at a video game studio. It's awesome. And I feel out of place every day. But, communicating with all of the people here and all of the other people who aren't here was a big part of how I got to where I am today. I started at Bungie as a community, like on the player support team. And before that, I'd been doing community management for tech. Doing like beta programs and stuff, and all of that started on Ansem Report. Like I learned how to run, run a server, how to use Linux, how to, use PHP and HTML and CSS and SQL databases, and also how to I didn't have a lot of friends in high school, so the people on Ansem Report were how I got good at socializing in a lot of ways because it was my people, right? Compared to the kids at my high school. I went to a prep school, and they sucked mostly.
13, very impressionable when I joined there. I would definitely say it kind of shaped the person I was when I got to high school, because this was as I was going to high school. I don't know who I was before then, but I became like anime gamer girl because talking to all these people got me more into anime, which my best friend tried, but she wasn't showing me stuff I liked. Which, I ended up going to anime cons and getting into cosplay, and I really think I maybe wouldn't have been as open to that if it was just my best friend. Just having this community be like, check out all these other RPGs. So it really kind of solidified an identity that I had when I was in my teens. Obviously, the people I've met through there have had, such a significant impact in my life. Obviously, I went to college with a couple of them, which, that sets a, going to a different city sets a huge trajectory for your future. I won't get too much into all my love affairs that came out of this. I will just say that one of the members that my senior prom date was someone from the Ansem, was from message board. My first boyfriend, who's okay, he was the guy I met at the mall. He was from the Ansem Report. I've had a couple other, what would be the word, loves, crushes throughout the years, as early as 2015, reconnecting with someone and being like, hey, you're cool.
I remember when all that stuff was going down, and I was like, oh, I want to know what happened. It's meeting someone from the internet? Tell me more.
Yeah, I mean, my parents were deeply concerned about what I was up to. Like, why are you meeting strange 15-year-old boys from the internet? I'm like, can you come to my birthday? And I guess. And his parents drove him down.
Oh, man.
His parents were probably like, what the hell? Why are we driving 3 hours to some girl's house that you found on the internet?
Yeah, but you know what? Good for them that they did it.
I mean, yeah, and his dad, who lived a little bit closer to me, let him hang out with me for several hours during their once every 3-week visits. And, my parents would just pick him up or his dad would drop him off. I don't know. They're very accommodating for a real sketch situation. And I'd like to say it was worth it, but, neither of us should have been dating. We were both too young and too stupid.
That's how you learn. That's how you learn.
Yeah.
We're getting murdered. I
Accommodating was
mean,
probably the safest thing.
Let's be real. It's a bunch of nerds hanging out on a website talking about Kingdom Hearts, right?
Yeah.
There are certainly places and people out there that are dangerous, and the source can come from anywhere. But I highly doubt that a 15-year-old who you met talking about a video game that you're both really passionate about, that's probably an okay dude.
Yeah, I mean, they probably had the same concerns any parent would have about any 15-year-old boy. It didn't really matter where he came from. He was just like there, and we needed to behave according to our age. That's pretty much it.
Sure. Did you behave according to your age, Alicia?
Yes, I was such a good girl.
I mean, the Ansem report to me was always about community and meeting new people. And, again, the internet was still kind of in its infancy. So, like today, you pick up your phone and you get in the car with a stranger from Uber. Like, back then it was like you're talking to someone on the internet. What are you crazy? You're like, what? What's the problem? Like, Icy knows she was meeting the 15-year-old at the mall, right? But it was always, to me, it was a lot of community. It was just people I could relate to, because people that I knew in my real life, while we have all these other things in common, we didn't have this in common. We didn't have video games. We didn't have Kingdom Hearts. Yeah, I see your finger up.
We wanted to have what they had in the video game. That's what all of us wanted.
Mm-hmm. He's right.
We wanted to be best friends and have, whatever adventure in theory crafting that we had.
He's right. He's absolutely right.
Oh, I mean, for one, the friends we made along the way, as the joke goes. Because, I mean, that's, like, I was just out of high school when I found the site, so it was a little different than some of the people, probably closer to Abso at that point, but, like, I had just moved to California. Like, I knew my family that I was staying with there, and that was it. Like, I never really met anybody else while I was there, even. So these were my friends. Like, they were the people. I worked part-time at like a shoe store for most of my time there, and I would rush home. I would like rush home, and like I would be in my room online, like talking to all these people and just having the time of my life. And like it sucked when I didn't have internet, because these were the people I wanted to talk to. It was like I was not in the greatest place at that point either, but like I ended up moving back to Arizona. I've been all over the place. But I moved back to Arizona. That's when I was able to get back involved again. It was like kind of hit and miss for parts of it, and the site had kind of moved beyond like my scope a little bit at that point. That's when we were trying to get, like, it was bigger and we were trying to do more with it, and like my menial skills with like Photoshop and stuff were far surpassed by other people. So I was just I kind of became the forum hermit at that point more than anything. And then we had a lot of technical issues pop up around that time, and it was kind of, it was a whole thing. But yeah, it was a big part of my life at that point. And like, we don't always talk all the time anymore, but we have our own like Ansem Report Facebook group that we converge in once in a while. Like Neatchee and I talk when anytime like a new game comes out, we like kind of geek out for a few hours about what we think is happening and stuff like that. And like Abso, I've been friends with her on Facebook for I don't even know how long at this point, pretty much since Facebook has existed. Like she's seen all all my kids being like having been born, and has been there for like relationship issues when and we don't talk directly a lot anymore because we're both pretty busy, I'm sure, but I know she's there.
I like to think that this experience when I was so young made it like a warm, familiar feeling when I became part of another internet community 6 years ago that I'm, really deeply in at this point. It's a YouTube community. It was just kind of like, wow, I missed this feeling. I missed, having this online support. It became a place to go hang out online that I hadn't really found in all those years between Ansem Report, even though I tried a couple different places, met a couple different people. They were okay. No one that I'd be like, yes, such a good friend.
It's really interesting because, like, here's a perfect example of something that translates directly from Ansem Report to my job. One of the things we talk about, because this is the type of game we want to make, is the concept of a third place. And this is something that is applicable way outside of video games or the internet. But the third place is the general idea that you have your home, you have where you work, and you have your third place. And that might be a bar, that might be someone's house, that might be the mountain where you go snowboarding, the trails where you go biking. There's everybody has a third place, for the most part. And for us, our third place was the Ansem report. And whether we, understood that at the time or not, we continue to look for that, right? And that's kind of where, even talking about, those of us who became really close friends and kind of drifted away from the internet for that kind of friendship, like that was our third place.
To that end, like, and to the question, how much that the Ansem report was a place where a lot of our formative years played out, and how important that was to a lot of us, and for me, in contrast to some of the other folks here, I never really sought to replace that or wanted to or felt I could. And still to this day don't, like I believe life moves in chapters, and where the Philly crew and then like, the Beijing crew and all that was like what kind of like was the defining social circle of my life. That was the Ansem report first. It was they were all their own little islands, and one island led to the next.
It wasn't my first experience with content creation back then, but it was my first like big one, my first like really successful one, and it meant a lot to me. And it's, I have some great memories from that time. Some of my best memories are from, the Ansem report days. And like I kind of backed away from like that kind of community for so long because of how important it was. And it's just kind of been recently that I've kind of gotten into that again with other stuff. I've like started making content again for like another game, and it's a lot of what happened back then. It's really cool to see the dichotomy between what it was like back then and what it's like now. It's such a different thing, and how it's grown and how it's become its own almost industry at this point, between streaming and like Twitter and Instagrams, like all TikTok and all that stuff. Like, and it's such a different thing to experience, but it's kind of cool to see, having been around as long as I have. But like a lot of my experiences back then have kind of like played into understanding how to approach people and stuff like that nowadays with that kind of thing.
For me, I'm just going to say that I know that with Ansem Report, whenever I think of, doing things online with groups of other people, I always remember Ansem Report. It was my first, involvement in anything online, really. I won't say the first time meeting people online, but like being part of a whole community. And it's like the standard to me. It's still the gold standard. The people we met, 99% of the time were awesome and like-minded. And I always just have such great memories of our time together, even if it was just online.
It's 2025 now. I can't go home from school and spend days hanging out with my friends, getting excited over how cool Kingdom Hearts 2 is going to be when it comes out. This is a time that can only be understood by the people who lived through it. Although I wasn't able to experience it, the Ansem Report team did. This is a period of their lives that shaped who they are. And if the recordings didn't show you how much it meant to them, the fact that they showed up for an interview nigh on 20 years later should. The Ansem Report went through many evolutions during its tenure, but even now that the site is empty, it still acts as a wayfinder, reconnecting friends decades later. But for the website itself, what's going to happen to it? For one, Neatchee still owns the domain and he can do whatever he wants there.
I have something that I've wanted to do with it for a while, and I just don't have the personal time nor the skill set to do the entire thing myself. I wanted to turn it into a meta wiki about the KH community, right? Like there's plenty of sites out there that are all about Kingdom Hearts and the news and the merchandise and the wikis and everything. I certainly don't have enough time to try to compete in that space. But a, community created content that catalogs the history of the Kingdom Hearts community. A wiki entry for web pages like the Ansem Report or kh2.co.uk, and a wiki page about the about Deep Dive, but not about Deep Dive itself, about what Deep Dive did to the community, and I want to download I want to go buy an album. Okay, cool. Here's where you can buy the album. to sort of like a meta tool for navigating everything that is Kingdom Hearts today. Oh, you want some breakdown videos on YouTube that'll tell you the story so far? Here's some good ones that are serious. Here's a short one, here's a long one, here's a funny one, you know. But I can't make all that content on my own, and I'm not an artist. I'll run the server and build the website, but you know, I would need more people.
The site still has its Kingdom Hearts affiliation and those who would like to see it return. Also, Kingdom Hearts as a franchise is more popular than it's ever been. All of these factors could influence its future, but if the Ansem report were to come back, what form would it take? Perhaps that is a question best left for Destiny to decide.
I'll come back to you. I promise.